Dear fellow brothers and sisters, warriors of the light, the Russian Federation, a terrorist state ruled by war criminals, is a threat to the entire democratic and free world. As an ally of the current axis of global evil, which runs through Beijing, Pyongyang, and Tehran, and as a destroyer of the world order, Moscow must be stopped. The civilized world must realize that the Kremlin's main propaganda narrative, that Russia's collapse would be a catastrophe due to uncontrolled nuclear weapons, is a complete nonsense and myth. The colonial imperial Russian Federation, the spreader of poison of Ruski Mir, will never be liberal, democratic, and will always use nuclear blackmail against its neighbors and the West in order to divide the unity of European Union, of NATO, and if given the opportunity, to spread further, occupying more and more territories, like a cancer or an epidemic. But we have an antidote to this deadly disease. Firstly, we have the heroic Ukrainians who are fighting for their freedom and that of us in the West. Secondly, we have the peoples enslaved for the time being by the Russian Federation, who have every right to self-determination and liberation. Bashkortostan, Ingria, Buryatia, Tatarstan, the Oirat Republic, Ingushetia, Udmurtia are just some of them. The request for freedom and the will of their people to self-determine and rebel against the occupier alongside the destruction of the Russian Federation hordes already underway in Ukraine is a key factor. Special mention must also be made of Karalyojus, known as Kaliningrad Oblast, which has been forcefully incorporated into the Ruski Mir after the end of World War II. Back in 2014, after the Russian Federation occupied Crimea, I said that it was necessary to hold free referendum in Karalyojus for its inhabitants to decide whether they wanted to continue to be a part of a criminal and terrorist state or to live in the free democratic West as an independent country. The Karalyojus issue is yet another example of the weakness of the West exploited by Moscow. It is quite clear that the Russian Federation considers this territory to be its own property as a spoil of war and treats it as such. It is the most militarized, nuclear weapon-laden corner of the earth, which should be completely cleansed of all armaments, let alone weapons of mass destruction. The dismantling of the Russian Federation as a colonial empire has already begun. The crushing of its armed vagabonds in Ukraine is a necessary but not sufficient condition for a peaceful coexistence of the countries, the neighbors in our region. Another condition is the dismantling of the criminal structures of Ruski Mir, the trial of war criminals, the decommissioning of the military and other security structures, the limitation of military potential, and of course the decision and choice of the autonomous regions and occupied peoples as to which path to follow, freedom or slavery. The path of armed resistance to the aggressor and the path of unarmed, peaceful protests and referendums together can put an end to the horrible, unprovoked invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation. It also can show that in the 21st century, humanity can be united and say to the aggressors, no, no more, that is enough. This is what we will be talking about in Vilnius, Lithuania, on 14th of June at the National Library and the Parliament, or Seimas. Come, hear, and show us your support.